Hello, sunshine. Welcome to Be Visible with Veronica, the podcast where bold conversations and soul-aligned strategy help you awaken your most powerful self. I'm your host, Veronica Bond. Get ready to stop dimming your light, own your magic, and finally be so visible you can't be ignored. Let's get visible. Welcome back to Be Visible with Veronica. Last week's episode with Tish Times was a brilliant conversation around the power of proximity. You're going to want to go back and take a look. And remember, if you love these episodes and you know that others need to hear it too, like and subscribe. It really helps the algorithm and it helps push this out so more entrepreneurs like you can hear what we're doing, see what we're doing, and really move their business forward. Today's episode is one about perseverance, looking over the edge into oblivion and trusting your next great step, your leap of faith. And it is with Quincy Nichols. We call her Quincy, and she is here joining us. Thank you so much for being on Be Visible with Veronica.
Thank you so much for having me, Veronica. I think it's long overdue, but it's the right time for us to have this conversation.
You know, I wanted to create this year powerful episodes for entrepreneurs to listen to that helps them move the needle forward towards their goal in 2026.
Absolutely.
And I couldn't think of a better timing than to have you come on and really talk about, here we are going into the end of the third month in Q1, where people thought they might be right now versus where they'd hoped to be. And what does their leading edge look like?
Ooh, that's spicy. That's a good topic. I like it. I think I'm perfect for this conversation too.
So let's dive right in. 25 years in corporate.
Yes.
You stepped away and said, I have some expertise and I'm willing to share it with the world, and I know I can create impact.
Absolutely. I knew I could create impact. I was ready to share it with the world. I thought the world was going to receive me much more quickly than they did. I had to learn that I had moved my pond and I was in a much bigger ocean, and I had to learn how to swim there.
The thing that I love about your story too, though, is you have this partner in your life that was foundational in believing in you.
Yes.
Not everybody has that.
I'm so blessed.
So I just want to honor that for a moment, because I have it too.
Yeah.
I have it in it.
It makes a difference.
It does. And if you don't have it, you need to borrow that belief.
And you have to find it.
And find it and create, again,
community.
And that's what we talked about with Tish last week.
Absolutely. It makes a marginal difference every time you can lean on your community.
And the thing that I want everybody listening or watching to hear is we can be a community support for you. Let us know what your business is. How can we support you? Drop a link in the comments to something that you have doing, that you have going on, that you're moving towards, that you're excited about. Help us help you. And I think that's a message I really want to get out this year in 26 is how can this podcast, how can Be Visible with Veronica help you expand your reach, grow your network, and create community? Because that's what this is all about as well.
Right. And I think there's something powerful in when you say, help me help you. That first part is just being honest about where you need the help. Sometimes when we are moving, especially from corporate, you were probably really magnificent at what you did there. And oftentimes you don't realize how much you're going to be losing when you step away. You had built-in support. It was integrated, right? You had your person who may have did marketing. You had the person that did your technical. Well, sometimes when you move into the entrepreneurial world, you become all of that. And so for me, having to say, you know what, I'm not the expert in all these other areas. I need to start leaning and connecting with people. And for me, one of the things that really helped me was the book, Who Not How, Who Not How, right? And really start to think about how do I leverage people and their best skills to help me put out my best work. And once I started doing that, it got easier.
You know, the pushback I have with that often in the clients that I work with, especially in the beginning of my business, was I don't have the resources.
Yeah.
I have to do it all myself. I have to put in my time and energy and effort and hustle hard and just do the base minimum. And I understand the mindset around that. And I had to pull from family resources and be my own personal resource to fund my business, my coaching, my vision. But then it all came back to me.
Oh, yeah.
I borrowed against my own belief, but I had the ability to do that, and I know not all do.
Absolutely.
But I also had a very dear friend in my life who believed in what I was doing, and she invested in me.
Yep.
And I think sometimes as women, we forget to ask.
Some of us, we have never been able to ask, right? For a lot of us, I think we were raised in this expectation of you just go and do, right? Just do. Be a great task manager. Some of us are great at executing. But when we have the ability to sit back sometimes and think about what is the bigger vision? What am I really working towards? And who are the people that are going to believe in me and rally for me in the moments when it gets really hard, right? So when I think about taking that risk of saying, you know what, maybe I don't have the resources. We are in an economy right now that is very creative. There are so many ways where if you are looking for help and assistance, people are willing to step up if you let them know what you're looking for. A lot of times when we think about asking for help, it's associated with a little bit of shame, right? Because maybe I don't have the skill set. I should be able to do all this myself. A lot of those old tapes and narratives, those stories that we tell ourselves that reaffirm the beliefs. But I can tell you there are people, whether it's your social media, your marketing, your tech, that's their zone of genius. Let them do that. And even when you're in those early phases, sometimes you come up with creative solutions. For me, when I think about the work I do with conflict resolution, in my framework called Spark, right? The K is all about kindling collaboration and looking for win-win outcomes. So maybe it's not a situation where we can have that exchange of money, right? But maybe it's an exchange of services. It's an exchange of, I will advertise you, you advertise me. But we have to be creative in the ways we're looking to make sure that we're supporting. So that way both people feel good about what they're walking away with.
I love this. The power of collaboration is so important. But again, to your point, is there has to be that energetic exchange.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because you have to understand what it is, the value that you're performing and bringing back. And one thing that honestly I would think twice before you hire your friend's daughter, sister, brother, aunt, uncle. Like, be very clear on, oh, well, my friend, how many times have we heard, I know somebody who can help me.
Absolutely.
My sister's or my niece or my brother or a coworker or somebody I used to work with does this.
Right, right.
Like, run the other way because you are going to pay for it.
Yes.
In fixing mistakes down the road. You're going to pay for it in additional time and headache. Find the expert first.
Find the expert
Find
first.
the professional
Right.
in that thing you need, and then let them go implement the idea. One, you'll find your best fit client faster.
Absolutely.
Because you won't be spinning your wheels trying to fix the mess that's getting created that you don't even know because it's not your expert field.
You're so right, Veronica. I can remember when I was first getting started and I was thinking about posting on social media. And in my corporate role, it wasn't something I had to do per se for work. So for me, my social media was very dry, let's say that. And so as I got into the habit of posting, because that was also something I had to shift my mind for that, right? So now I'm posting, but then I find myself all day, I'm trying to manage these social media accounts. And I had to ask myself, well, wait a minute, if my focus is really about igniting the women's spirit around me to lean into conflict as opportunity, to really uplift their clarity, their cash access, whatever that may be, how am I doing that spending so much time on social media? I have no desire to be a social media influencer or maven or manager, right?
And it's causing you additional conflict and headache.
Exactly, right? And I'm not doing the thing that I need to be doing. So for me, what was even deeper about that is because the social media was such a distraction, right? While I'm telling myself I'm busy, this is what I need to do, I'm not focused on the core principles of my business, right? And so now I'm just busy doing things, but I'm really not making any progress forward. I just look busy to everyone else.
Well, they say busy is the new stupid.
That's what I hear every Monday.
Thank you, Sandra. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Let's talk about the moment you decided to be an entrepreneur, what that felt like. And then let's talk about what happened to that edge. When you shared with me recently, I was on the edge thinking I would be a lot farther, because you're only about 2 years in.
I'm relatively new, right? So in terms of being an entrepreneur, I'm still kind of a baby in the game, as they would say, right? But for me, when I left corporate, right, and some of it was I was ready to go, and I also had a very nice severance that enticed me to leave and enabled me to really think about what did I want that next chapter in my life to be, which I also understand the privilege in that, because not everyone has that as well. I had a spouse that was very, very supportive. I even got to take a bit of a gap year, right? As a woman in my 40s now. So that was all nice. I got to think about it very deeply about what did I want it to be when I moved forward.
Nice.
So I had already given myself sort of this story, this timeline. I've always been very goal focused, and for a lot of my successes, it's been very planned. It's been network, and it's been intentional. So as I was moving into this new space, number one, I didn't know the players, right? I didn't have the community around me, but I just thought, based on number one, some stubbornness, right?
Well, that's okay.
And sometimes stubbornness can be good,
got you where you
right?
were.
Sometimes stubbornness can be good, but also sometimes that will be what's standing in your way, right? Because you are making it a little bit harder than what it needs to be. When you think about people and they say, don't reinvent the wheel. The wheel has already been invented. Figure out how to maybe you make a better model.
It is really interesting when you're in corporate, especially, to have ego.
Oh, yes.
And you have to be in your ego space.
Absolutely.
Constantly.
Absolutely.
In work.
Yes. Yes.
Because that's what drives your success. That will help. That's what keeps you competitive. That's what helps you show up in the way the employer is expecting you to. It's what helps you hit your corporate goals.
Sometimes they call it gravitas sometimes, right?
So then to get out of the ego and go to your heart when you become an entrepreneur and tap into that purpose and passion. Whoa, those are two conflicting
those
things.
Those can be
that
polar
are
things, right?
Within the same person.
Absolutely.
And so the fastest way through it I found was in Who Not How. Like these books of personal development.
Yes.
How are you working on you? And then you better go find an environment where women are doing, other entrepreneurs are doing the things that you want to be doing successfully.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I think about where we are now in 2026, right, and I think even with Sandra, right, and how long she's had this company, it's because women have been saying, let me grab you by the hand and let me show you the way, right? And to a certain level, and this could be, the age that we're in now and what we all went through back in 2020, but we've lost that sense of community, that tribal knowledge, right? That sitting down and sharing, here are some of the tales of what has worked well, but also here's where I made some missteps. Let me see if I can save you some of that time.
Yes.
And it's not about robbing you of your unique experience for your journey.
Oh, I love that
But
line.
if I can help you not make the same mistake, then I'm pouring back into the community as well.
Yes.
Because what I also learned and understood with my corporate success was I didn't get there alone. I had women, most times, who were pulling me up and saying, hey, I'm seeing this flare in you. I see this desire, this curiosity. If you're willing to learn, I'm willing to let you watch. I'm willing to teach. And I think there's a certain level of, we have to be humble, right? When someone's giving that hand, but then also when we're in those positions to be able to teach, we have to be willing to do so.
And we have to be able to listen, that if we're being guided, when somebody says, I think you need to take a step back.
Yes.
Or I think you need to take a step forward. Or, and if it's in direct conflict with what you believe to do, you want to do in your your heart and the mission you thought, having that eagle-eye perspective is really valuable. And I myself in the beginning shut a lot of that out.
Oh, yeah.
Because I knew the way that I wanted to go forward.
We were coming from where we were as the expert, right? And now you're the novice. You have to learn again. And it doesn't mean that you have to forget everything that made you great, because some of those skills are going to transfer. But what you have to also be open to is knowing that there's going to be a gap of certain skills that you've just never had to really learn and then practice and then become an expert at, right? And so once you can be open to, there are things that I don't know, moving into a different industry, then it allows for you to learn with curiosity rather than judging yourself for what you don't know. And for me, I think I was judging myself for what I didn't know, because I was putting all these expectations of, well, you were this great person before, you should just be able to move and do this. And why don't they understand? Why aren't they coming?
Wow.
Right? But in
What
that
was
year,
that like for you?
Let's
talk about that breakdown for a minute,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it happens. It's real. It happens.
It happens. And I think if you've spoken to anyone and they told you they haven't had that breakdown yet, it's coming, right? They just haven't maybe pushed themselves just yet. For me, I remember sitting in our kitchen, sitting at the bar, and I just started to like feel heavy. And because I had a very nice salary in my corporate position, and I thought it was going to be an easy sort of find and replace, right? Like when we think about a document, you find the word and replace it here. And it didn't happen that quickly. I didn't have the reps in the game, right, that I needed to have. And so once I started to realize, okay, there's practice that is required, even though I've been doing this for the last 20 years. And
you had proof of concept that it worked.
That it works, right? I know that the transformation that I can really bring out of people based on the time that they spend with me, and how I'm going to push you just a bit, but I'm going to be there to support you and hold your hand the entire time. I wasn't allowing for any other woman to show up for me in my life like that.
Wow.
Right?
So I remember my breakdown. I crumpled on the floor in front of my husband on my knees, and I was just
Oh, yeah.
And he leans over and he said, "Babe, I'm tired of you giving your best stuff away for free." Not tired. I mean, maybe he said that, but what he meant was, it's breaking my heart
to see the way you're devaluing yourself.
Yes.
And
that's what he meant. Like, he didn't care that I was doing, he wanted to be there to support me. But he put his hand on my shoulder and I rested my head on his lap. I was on the floor and he was sitting on a chair, and we had taken a weekend away up in the mountains. And I just remember thinking, I've let him down. I've let me down. I let my family down.
What have I done?
Oh my gosh, all that money I invested.
What have I done?
What have I done?
What have I done, right? Because to that same point, what my wife and I, we live currently a very nice life. We are blessed beyond imagine, but there are things that we've had to make some hard decisions about because of the career change that I decided to make. And we knew that there would be, some downstream impacts and a little bit of adjusting, and we were okay with that. But my timeline internally was that it would never take this long, right? And what I didn't know, but she knew, is that it would absolutely take this long and maybe even longer, right? So I am thankful to have had her be able to say, don't worry about it. I'm already planning for it, because I know you're so focused on growing your business. And as long as I see that you're committed and you're focused and you're consistent, right? Then she was open and saying, okay, we can figure out the rest. And we have been doing that. And what it's allowed me to do is to reimagine what's really important for me. It's not often the baubles, the gifts, the things, right? Because we can always purchase those later. But it's knowing that I have someone who truly supports me, the way my family has rallied around me in doing something different. I remember, and even talking to you, saying, I might need to put my resume out there and see what's happening. And you saying, well, maybe, but before you do that, have you thought about this? And then we said, let's get on a call. And since then, the floodgates have been open, because I truly feel and I know that the universe is understanding and saying, listen, I'm open. I'm ready to be poured into, because I also want to pour into others. And that's back to that exchange, right, of giving and receiving. You can't just think you can just receive all the time.
Or give.
Or give. It's the balance.
And it's what you train. It's like the muscle they're training. What muscle are you training? Are you training your giving muscle?
Right.
Or are you training your receiving muscle? How do you balance both?
Absolutely. It's that push-pull.
Yes. How do you sit in that space? The the transition for me happened when I decided to shift out of what I was doing into something new.
Mm-hmm. That's scary, isn't it?
And it was scary. And I remember Chuck saying, I would rather have you home doing nothing than watching you work yourself to death.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a you thing.
Yep.
It's a you problem, Veronica.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to support you, but I want you to figure this out.
Right.
Let's put a timeline on when you figure this out.
Yeah.
And so I hired a business coach because I knew I couldn't do it alone anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really big deal for me because you're looking around going, well, there's so many. Who do I choose?
Oh, yeah. Right. And you want to make the right decision, because usually when you get to that point of saying, okay, I'm going to hire someone, sometimes we do it because everything's going great. But in the moment when you're doing it because you're like, well, wait a minute, I have not figured this out. Mm-hmm. This is going to be my next big investment. I got to make sure this one works. Right. So,
and again, speed, you're going to pay for it one way or the other.
Yes.
You're going to pay for it in cash, or you're going to pay for it in time. And what I've learned is when I invest in myself, I'm ready to stretch that next muscle. I'm ready to grow into that new person. And everything I'd done up to that point has helped me elevate to the new level of where I'm supposed to be.
Yes.
And if I don't want to be a rock that collects moss that gets stuck and comfortable in one space.
Right.
I'm not wired that way. And so raising my level of expectation, and now I sit here and I had a conversation this morning on a mastermind, and I said, it's already done. I already see the completion. Mm-hmm. My higher self already knows the future of the existence of the thing that I'm moving towards. That's powerful. They said, wow, that's powerful.
Powerful.
Because I'm just waiting for the timeline to catch up.
Right. You already have the conviction.
Absolutely. Yep. And it was in creating this podcast, Be Visible with Veronica, once I decided there needs to be a platform in this conversation, Podworks opened up. They were having an open house. I came. I saw what was going on here. I knew I wanted to do in person. 3 days later, I was on another call. I signed a contract. I knew how I wanted to model it. Mm-hmm. And I just so happened to be having happy hour with my first business coach that evening. So I had signed the contract. And so it was all the planets aligned.
Yep.
And that's when you know it was go time.
Absolutely.
And all the experience and everything that I've done through the years, and now these powerful conversations, all the people that I've met in business in the last 38 years, all these stories I can tell and pull out and understand, because the timing was right now.
Yes.
So the other thing we talked about when you were on the edge is coming back from that. I love that you said we got on a phone call. Your willingness to get on a phone call.
Oh, yes, right, because some women won't even get on the phone, right?
Because and we had tears,
we had tears,
us.
Absolutely, tears, right? And I'm just like sobbing, and that's that ugly sob, right? It's not the cute one. It's the one that's saying, hey, I'm really on the edge of saying, I just can't do it, right? And then for me, and this is where the stubbornness is good, is I am tenacious. And one of the best descriptions I had someone give me saying, you got moxie, and I do. And for me, I'm always willing to try, right? Try something different. And it was important for me, and this is where I really had to double click into networking with the right group. Right.
Love that double click. With the right group, because not everybody, you're not meant to be in every room.
And you're not. And that's okay too, right? And understanding that sometimes you can't take your entrepreneurial problems, concerns, strategy issues to your corporate friends, right? They won't get it.
They don't get it.
They don't get it. They don't understand it. They may not have that same level of risk, right? They will probably tell you, hey, just
put your resume out there.
Put your resume out there, right? Because they want to do what's safe. They don't want for you.
They are looking out for you too, but they don't understand the other
the
mindset.
Bigger goal, right? My moonshot requires me to do something different. Theirs may require for them to be in corporate because they may be igniting and influence people within that world. So just a little bit different. So once I got in the right room, started having the right conversations with the right people, but also selfishly seeing people grow and do things around me where they're creating things, they're talking about the ideas and things are materializing.
And then they get into momentum you can't help but be in that with them.
Right. I'm inspired now because now I'm thinking. And so once I realized something had clicked is when people were having conversations and I was like, well, wait a minute. Do you know this person? Do you know this person? What I hadn't realized, what I'd spent sort of these first 18 months is I was building my network. I was starting those reps. I was having to really build up that know, like, and trust into that know, love, and trust. And so now when I have a conversation with people, well, actually, if I'm being very honest, it's more people saying, hey, you got to come meet Quincy, right? And it's a great way for me to know that I'm operating in my right space and not trying to imitate someone else's right space.
So let's talk about that right space. The company you created, its name is?
experiencecoaching.com, and there we do consulting and coaching really centered around how do highly ambitious women manage conflict personally or professionally.
This is such an important conversation. Like, absolutely every week there's conflict that happens in my life.
Every week, because, you know, the thing about it is with conflict is that it can be a sneaky thing, right? To where it's small little things that you're just kind of ignoring that then lead up to resentment, right? Or sometimes it's that big moment, right? It may be asking for a raise. It may be a partner in your business to where it doesn't feel like a partnership anymore. How do I manage
an
that?
Employee in your business, a contract worker in your business?
Absolutely. It could be the spouse in your home sometimes, right? It could be adult children. And so what I've learned, and this is where I'm really thankful for my time in corporate, because what was unique about my experience is I had other leaders that reported to me. Right. So I had that layer of leadership and I got to see where did women lean in and where did we start to recoil sometimes.
Nice.
And when the conversation got hard, when it required for us to not self-abandon, that's where it gets tricky.
Okay.
Right. And so for me, it was about if you can be prepared and think about managing conflict as a skill, as a strategy, right, then you can really take the emotional part, the emotional response out of it and stay very clear and focused on what are the outcomes that you're looking for from this high conflict conversation.
And it's also about building that muscle.
Absolutely.
It is not something you learn and you don't practice.
No.
And then it shows up and you're like, oh my gosh, what was that Quincy taught me?
Absolutely.
So I love the containers you've created.
Thank you.
And Spark is one of them.
Yeah, so Spark is my signature framework. And for me, when I think about it, a lot of the things within my business is all about sort of, you'll hear me talk about, you know, fire and spark and ignite and all these things, because to me, it's about sometimes you have to get a little hot, right? It's going to get a little bit warm. And as I continue to think about my Spark framework, which is a 5-step process, a 5-step strategy that you can really lean into before you have the conversation.
Nice.
Right? Oftentimes what I would see with women is we weren't prepared. We didn't know what were the outcomes that we were looking for, what was going to work for us and what was no longer going to work for us.
Okay.
Right? And so as you move through the process and really quickly, right? So the S is about sharing the facts. Let's make sure we both understand what's going on here. The P is your perspective. The perspective is all about the impact. The impact is where you bring in the vulnerability, right?
Okay.
This is how this is affecting me.
Okay.
So as if my partner at work, you're not dealing on your end, it delays me being able to do on my end. The A is where we stop and pause, right? And so we're asking for their input. It's no longer a monologue of having this conversation for them. The A allows for them to share information we may not have known. What may have changed since we had the original agreement? Then when we move into the R, that's about that reflect and reframe. Did you hear what they said? Are we both speaking the same language? And then the K is all about the kindle, the collaboration. This is where now we have those win-win outcomes that we thought about in the beginning, or if we can't get to the outcome, we already know how we may need to sunset that relationship, and then what is our next move after that. What's hard sometimes for us as women is we don't want to have to take that next move after because we know it's not working.
Yeah, I didn't want to sunset a relationship, but I did in July.
Good.
But it was something I'd been thinking about for a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a struggle. So I'm with you there. I love this framework that you've created.
Thank you.
I think one of the hurdles that if women entrepreneurs can get over, it's this conflict resolution. And I love the collab.
Yes, my conflict clarity lab, right? Because what I believe and what I know to be true is that where we have opportunity oftentimes within our business is when we think about either getting time or money back or just your self-respect is in the conversations that we avoid, right? We avoid them because they don't make us feel good. Or we think about, oh, it's going to hurt that person's feelings.
But that's what causes the ulcers. That's what raises the blood pressure.
The cortisol, honey.
Oh my gosh. And it stops our own creative ability to go do our best work.
Because guess what?
Whatever that is.
That person that you were thinking about having to sunset that relationship with in July, how many months was that sort of ruminating in your brain?
About 5.
Every time you saw them, that's all you could think about, right? And so now it's like that's taking up so much space and so much energy. What if we could just let that be, right? And I'm not a fan of ghosting or anything like that.
No, there has to seek clarity.
Clarity.
There will come a point where you have to have a conversation.
Absolutely.
When it is that deep in you and it keeps showing its whatever the thing is, keeps showing its
when it keeps presenting.
Yeah, when
right?
it keeps presenting.
How are you going? Because you need to deal with it.
As a CEO of your company, as the entrepreneur you decided to be, you became the founder and CEO of your company.
Absolutely.
Let's start acting like it.
Every time, right? Because no one else is going to lead my company more than me. No one else is going to care about my company more than me. And if I have to stand firm on what aligns with the values and the mission and the purpose of my business, and if something is out of alignment, then I have to do the work to get that out.
And you create that in your conflict lab.
The conflict clarity lab, I love it.
And in your Spark program.
And in my Spark program.
And people who are listening or watching can find that where?
Absolutely. Go to my website. So that's coaching.com. There under resources, I have a free gift available for everyone.
Awesome.
It is called my Spark Conversation Igniter. And it is just sort of the personal guide you can have with you to walk you through the framework really quickly of, okay, this is what I need to be prepared for in planning the conversation before the conversation spirals into just emotion. Because then you get distracted. You don't deal with the thing, right?
Yes. And I love this so much because people who are listening and watching will be able to find it in the show notes too.
Absolutely. Good.
So for those of you who went, wait, what did she just say? Where do I go find?
Don't worry, we'll link it below for you.
No worries.
Absolutely.
This has been powerful.
Thank you.
So the next 18 months as we close here, what does that look like for you?
It's more and more and even better, right, is what I'm looking for. So more stages, more women who are willing to be honest about, here's where I am shrinking my voice. Here's where I'm abandoning myself. And you know what? I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to spend the next 40 the way I spent the last 40. There were some good moments, but imagine how many more great moments I could have had if I just would have spoke up for myself a little bit more.
And had the tools to do it, and had the
support,
muscle.
The muscle
and the strength
memory.
and the support, the muscle memory. I love that. And I love this program you've created, Quincy. It's so beautiful. And it was so perfect to talk about today. So if you are somebody who's been leaning on the edge of your business and you're not sure if you should keep going or not, replay this episode more than once, because you will find nuggets in here that will inspire you. You'll find tips in here that you can create a calendar around, and you'll find a resource in the juicy offer that Quincy has given you today. But also go to her website and see how she might be able to help you, because I promise you, if you're not in conflict now, you will be.
Absolutely.
Because it happens as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
And all of my guests receive. So thank you so much for coming into our studio live today. A Hello Sunshine box full of lots of goodies to remember that you do create an impact in the world, just like the sunflower. Chase the light and find your own happiness in your business.
I love this. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
I receive this with so much thank you. Just thank you. You have been a key to helping me make sure that I move forward. You are a part of my community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Quincy. I receive that with my whole heart. So stay tuned for next week's episode on Be Visible with Veronica, where you will be given lots of tips to help you reach your goals, expand your horizon, and take your next best steps to your next level greatness.
It's good.
Is that good?
Yeah.
All right.
Like, comment, subscribe, and hype the video, guys.
Right? Hype the video. I love it. Bye for now. Thanks for tuning in to Be Visible with Veronica. If today's episode sparked something in you, share it, tag me, and pass it on. Your presence has power, and the world is better when you let it be seen. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and keep showing up as the unstoppable force you were born to be. I'll see you next time.